put the gel in my hands. This also will be now the gel that I blow dry with their hair. I will then take the gel and I'll mix it with the blow dry serum. So it will be, the serum will give you really smooth, shiny hair. You always want to take the size of brush that matches the size of your section. If you take a wide section, you take a wide brush. If you take a small section, you take a narrow brush. Okay? The barrel of the brush should match the size circumference of the section. Does that make sense? When I blow dry, I do not pre-dry. You know how you guys pre-dry? Stop doing it immediately. Okay? Stop. Because what happens when you pre-dry is you create frizz and you're disturbing the cuticle. You're making the cuticle swollen and you're creating something you're going to have to fix later. So don't even do it. Go one section at a time from wet to dry, then move to the next section. Wet to dry, move to the next section. Wet to dry. You never want to combine wet and dry hair together either. Because if you've got something that's dry, it's totally smooth. What happens if it gets wet? It gets frizzy. So you got to keep the two different hairs apart from each other. When you're brushing the hair, or when you're blow drying the hair, the first thing that you do with the brush is you grab the hair, and then the first thing that you do with the blow dryer is you lodge the hairs into the brush. Okay? Nobody will ever teach you this, but it helps tremendously. They'll just go, here, round brush, but I want to break it down really small for you so you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. The first thing that I'm going to do with this brush, watch, is I grab the hair, and then the first thing I do with the blow dryer is I hit it right across the base. What that just did is it just forced those hairs deeper into the brush. Now I have more control of the hair. See what I'm saying? Okay. So that's the first thing that you do. Then from there, you start smoothing down. Then I come up on top and I smooth like this. From there now, I grab again, I come down, and now I'm smoothing like this. That's dry. Now I come back to where I stopped, I come down, smoothing like that. Now follow? You increment yourself from the root out. You don't go all from the root out at once. You do it like in an inch intervals. First inch from the scalp, second inch, third, and you go out. Okay, guys? Never allow the blow drying air to go in any one direction against the cuticle. Only keep the blow dryer coming in one direction, the direction that you want the cuticle to close in. What happens is we all tend to get lazy, and look, we do this when we blow dry. Look at my hand. What that's doing to the cuticle, see what it's doing? It's blowing the cuticle that way. The cuticle's got to come this way. That's how it's going to be shiny. So that means I got to lift my arm up and come from the top down only. I come out in little tiny sections. Little by little I work my way towards the ends. Remember, the three things that close the hair cuticle and make it shiny: heat, friction, pH, products. Once you combine those three, you can get almost virtually any head of hair straight and shiny. Now I'm on the end, so now I'm going to spend a little time on these ends. I'm just going to keep spinning the brush, and I'll know when this is ready to stop drying because I'll feel no tension on the brush. If I'm still feeling tension, in other words, the hair's not coming through totally smooth, that means it's not dry yet. That means the cuticle is still up and resisting. But when the brush comes all the way through the hair, like this, look, see, totally smooth, over and over and over, totally smooth, then you know that you've got the cuticle closed. So you're able to feel it when you have to, you'll feel when you need to stop. Not just by how it looks, but how it feels. See, I still have a little bit of resistance. Even though it looks dry, it's not. And her hair, because it's so highly colored and bleached, is holding on to moisture. It's like a sponge. It will just suck that water in. It doesn't want to give it up. So even though it looks dry, if it doesn't feel completely effortless to pull that brush through, it's not dry yet. And you have to keep drying it until you feel it just slide perfectly through. Oh, here's a huge point. Whenever you lose your tension on your brush, immediately reapply the tension. So if you're bringing it out and all of a sudden now it's too smooth or it's too loose, redo the tension, okay? That's how you're going to get really smooth hair. So like come through, and if you don't feel like a good grab, then come back in and re-grab it. All right? That's a huge point. Obviously, stem direction is very important. The stem is the part of the hair that comes out of the head. It is the most important part of the hair when you're talking about direction, because the ends will always follow what the stem does. If you're trying to lift hair, you have to lift the stem, okay? So, just as I was talking about those roller sets, you guys, that's where you learn from roller sets, because when you're setting, you have to, if you know, oh, I really want to create a lot of volume here, you'll know how to over direct, you see what I'm saying, to get that lift. You got to do the same exact thing with the brush. So if you want volume, you have to over direct it up at the base, okay? Okay, now I've got no resistance, everything's smooth all the way through. A lot of you guys might go, oh, that would drive me insane having to do every single section like that. You get too anxious, you want to move through, right? Don't. Hold yourself way back. Do not move to the rest of the hair until this particular section right here is perfectly dry. Completely perfectly dry, because what you'll do is in the end you'll actually save time. If you go all over the head and dry half of it and then dry this and then dry that, and it's not uniform, you'll never really know when you're done, and the wet hair will keep frizzing up the dry hair. So what you have to do is you have to do one section at a time and keep the hair that's dry and the hair that's wet separated from one another. Now, once you're on the ends and you come down, you give it some heat. And you let it cool. You can have a cold button on your blow dryer and hit it with a cold button if you want. That will set it. Then from there, you take it out. And look, every single section that you guys do, you want to do it this glassy. Every single section glassy. Okay? Glassy. Because if you do that with every single section, you know how much body and movement and bend and bounce you're going to get in the hair? She's going to look like she is Heather Locklear going to a photo shoot. I think that comes from your upbringing. If you have parents that coddled you your whole life, you're going to grow up to be a little bitch. But if you have parents that taught you to have compassion for other people, you're going to probably end up to be a good person. just give you.
Yeah. How much you charge for a haircut? Better from there than from here. That's
You okay in there? Right there, right next to it. Simple.
This is for you.
Thank you.
I know